have an upper limit problem? Welcome to Tools to Manifest Your Dream Life with myself, Glenise Hughes. Thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for each and every one of you. This podcast is an invitation to my upcoming 6-week study group on the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I am calling it the Upper Limit Experiment. Link with details is above or below. If you don't find a link, reach out and I'll get it for you. A few years ago, I noticed a strange pattern in my life. Things would start going well, business would improve, money would come in, something exciting would show up, and then something would happen. I would suddenly start worrying, or I'd feel pressure, or I would make things much harder than it needed to be. Sometimes it even felt like life corrected itself, like success actually had a ceiling. At the time, I didn't have language for it. Then I read a book that explained this so clearly, I actually laughed out loud. The book is called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. He talks about the upper limit problem. And once you start understanding this idea, you see it everywhere. In the book, Hendricks shares a simple example. A man gets a big promotion at work. Everything is going well. His income increases. His boss is happy, his future looks bright, and then suddenly he picks a fight with his partner, a big one. The relationship explodes, and within a short time, the stress spills over into his work. The promotion starts to feel heavy instead of exciting. Eventually, the whole situation becomes messy, not because the promotion was bad, but because the expansion created discomfort. And the person unconsciously tried to reduce that discomfort. But Hendricks calls the upper limit problem. The idea is simple. Every person has an internal thermostat for how much success, happiness, love, money, ease feels normal. When life rises above that level, your system tries to bring things back down. Because your nervous system wants things to feel familiar, and familiar often feels safe. The interesting part is how creative our upper limit can be. Sometimes it shows up as worry, life starts improving, and suddenly you're imagining what could go wrong. Sometimes it shows up as overworking. Instead of enjoying the growth, you create pressure. Sometimes it shows up in relationships. Things feel easy and connected. And suddenly you start picking apart problems that weren't there before. And sometimes it shows up as simple self-sabotage, procrastinating, creating unnecessary problems, or losing momentum right when things are expanding. One story that Hendricks tells is about a couple who were incredibly happy together. They loved each other deeply. They had a strong relationship, but every time that things got really good between them, one of them would start a fight. It was almost predictable. Things felt wonderful. Then suddenly there was tension, an argument, distance. The reason wasn't that the relationship was bad. The reason was that the level of happiness had went beyond what felt familiar. So the system created a way to bring it back to the old way. The most important moment in this pattern is the moment when the tension begins. That shift from ease to contraction. You might notice your chest tightens, you start worrying, you start scanning for problems. That moment is where the pattern lives. Most people follow the worry, or they try to fix something that isn't actually broken. But when you simply notice the reaction, you begin interrupting the pattern. You can say to yourself, this is an upper limit response. Just naming it often creates enough space to soften the reaction. Sometimes the most interesting part of this pattern is actually how subtle it can be. It doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it shows up in really small ways. For example, imagine someone finally launches something that they have been wanting to launch for a long time. They put the offer out, people respond, a few clients sign up, momentum starts building, and instead of feeling relaxed or excited, they start feeling uneasy. They start questioning everything. Maybe the offer isn't good enough. Maybe they should redo the whole thing. Maybe they need to change the price. Maybe they should pause and rethink the entire plan. What looked like excitement suddenly turns into doubt. Nothing external changed, but internally, the expansion crossed a line that doesn't feel familiar yet. So the system started bringing things back to a level that was comfortable. Another example that Hendricks talks about is something that many people recognize. A couple goes on vacation. They've been looking forward to it for months. They arrive somewhere beautiful. The weather is perfect and the first day feels amazing. They relax. They enjoy themselves. Everything is easy. But by the second or third day, something shifts. They start arguing about small things. One person gets irritated. The other becomes defensive. Suddenly, the vacation feels tense instead of relaxing. Nothing about the situation actually got worse. The level of happiness had moved beyond what felt normal. So the system created tension to bring the emotional temperature back down. Once you start seeing this pattern, it becomes surprisingly obvious. You notice it in yourself and you notice it in other people. In fact, I remember the first time that hubby and I flew first class from Canada to England. It was the most incredible experience. We had lay-down beds. It was beyond words. However, when we landed, all hubby could talk about was how horrible the flight was. Now, I didn't have this terminology for it, but I knew it had went beyond his level of receiving. When you're used to flying in economy and then you fly in first class, that can be an upper limit problem. Expansion appears and then contraction can follow. Hendricks talks about something called living in your zone of genius. That's the place where your natural abilities and joy meet. But many people never stay there long. The moment life expands beyond their comfort level, they start pulling back. The real work is not forcing success. It's allowing success to stay, allowing happiness to remain without bracing for the fall, allowing money to arrive without immediately creating pressure around it. When you start recognizing this pattern, it becomes much easier to recognize your own ceilings. You notice when life improves and your system reacts. And instead of shrinking back into the old level, you can breathe, soften, allow the expansion to remain. That small shift can change a lot, because often the only thing limiting the next level of your life is the moment that you decide expansion is actually safe. If you are ready to change this in your life, then I invite you to join me for the Upper Limit Experiment. We will get together for 6 Thursdays in a row starting March 26, 2026. Each week we will do a short reading and have a conversation about it. I'll share practical exercises and simple regulation tools. You will start to see exactly where you're limiting yourself and what to do instead. Link is above or below or in the show notes. If you can't find the link, reach out and I'll get it for you. Have a great week, sweet friends. I look forward to chatting again soon.